Authenticity.
The first statement is a cocky statement. I mean, we do events all the time. My crew, we rock, we do parties, whatever, all this. But for this one, I'm super humble, y'all. Thank y'all for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. I'm actually kind of nervous, actually. And I love everyone in here. Thank y'all. Tonight's very special for me. I appreciate y'all for coming tonight. Give y'all a clap. Damn, I should have taken some questions.
Well, you got a chance to look at it, so you can okay. All right. So we're gonna start off just at the top of the book. For those who've read it, then I'm sure you saw how thoughtful and heartfelt that his dedication was. Do you mind if I read it? All right. So it says, dedicated to Brock Singleton. Being the youngest of 5 boys, my older cousin Brock is who I looked to for guidance. As a young teen, you were like a god to me. I wanted to talk like you, walk like you, and mostly dress like you. You taught me so many things in life and was always there when I needed a hand. I deleted a few sentences that describe your current situation because I know life just happens. The important part for me is to give you the well-deserved flowers while you can still smell them. Hopefully this dedication can touch you and motivate you to be the God you were meant to be. Love.
Yeah.
All right. And I just want to acknowledge him because it takes a lot for a man to be that open and vulnerable, especially in something that's going to be here forever. You know, it's one thing to say to somebody in private, but to put it in print is a totally different level of love. So kudos to you. But tell me, who is Brock? Obviously, it discussed it, but who is Brock to you?
Brock is my older cousin. I'm the youngest out of 4 boys. It's 5 boys. I'm the youngest, but Brock is like my older brother, even though he's my cousin. He's like maybe 3 years older than me, so like I'm 12, he's like 15. He was just a very special guy. And once again, like the people that know him tell like how we put Jay-Z in these like smooth roles, or the guy Asian paper full. Like this was Brock. He was like the flyest guy, athlete, modest, real humble, you know, ladies man, but never really went that way. Just a guy of morals, like at like 14 years old, you know. He babysitted me. He just took care of me. He taught me how to just do little things. Like for example, I actually wrote that. I thought about I was passing Burlington. I don't know who y'all. So back then in high school, like TJ Maxx and Burlington, that's a lot of spots. But he like would bring me there. Like when I'm in like 7th grade, he would bring me there. Like he'd say, "It's October. It's like get cold in the morning. See the jacket, like the Averex jacket, that bowl? Like, yeah." He's like, "You like that jacket?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I want to be fly, whatever." And he's like 14, 15. He's like, "Okay, so look, this jacket's $80, this jacket's $60. You know, it's like $150 or something. So get them, go to the counter, and give them like $30. It's called layaway." You know? And I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yo, so when it really get cold, you give them 20 every week, you ready in December." You know what I'm saying? Like, so just little things like that. I'm like, you know, and I still go, you know, I learned how, you know, purchase things, just things like that to this day. He was a high school star. He played basketball, football. He went to Fresno State and LA football scholarship, and that really kind of pushed the book really due to I mean, he's okay, he's alive and reading, but you know, a mental state happens. And I use the Jay-Z comparison on purpose, because like, just imagine someone like that just goes down, like mentally. You know, and like this guy was, once again, like I have a couple people in here that could attest to his character. Like he was the smoothest guy in the fucking world, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that just meant a lot. And, you know, I get down on myself sometimes because life moves fast and I don't go back and visit him a lot, or they sound like I should be, but I still like live life with a lot of his morals that he taught. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, he's just a real close person to me. You know, he was like, he really took care of me.
Okay, well, yes, we gotta give Brock his rose.
Yeah.
All right, so to move to a more holistic topic or question, what inspired the book? Why Major Loss?
Well, the root cause was definitely COVID. I got a couple We major guys in there. We ended up having to shut the studio down because COVID. That's why I'm grabbing microphones, y'all. I'm trying to be. I know I didn't have a mask on earlier because I was nervous not wearing my mask. But you know, mics and things like that. You know, because COVID stuff. So we shut the studio down. Really no festivals. I mean, me and I got Twine trying to do creative things, but we kind of can't move around really. So it was one of those. I'm so like every 3 to 6 months I try to like give myself a progress report, like on the creative side, like what can I try to do, what can I try to do, do like a checkup. And it was like, man, you gotta really sit down for a minute and you can do. And I've always kept like notes. I'm very religious. I like to think. So I always take notes down if I'm in service, I hear pastor say something, or older person say something, or just a friend, and I just keep notes in my phone all the time. And just one day on the back porch, having breakfast, and I was just going through. I'm like, I think I got it.
Now, was this during COVID?
It was during COVID. It was during COVID. Now I always talk crap like I'm writing a book, so I always had it in the back of my mind.
So what kind of was it? COVID itself, or was it a sermon that the pastor said? Was the kids? Was bringing show me like pushing you? Like what was that thing?
It was more me not wanting to be complacent, with not having nothing to create, nothing to do, and it was like if you put this book on. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and once again, y'all, I'm sorry to interrupt y'all. I'm talking with a list right now. I just got done work done. I'm sorry. So I got like a little list going. Sorry about that. But it's that was it. Just always want to challenge myself.
Okay, so I kind of briefly mentioned Supreme and Shelby. So tell me, how has it been? I know some of you probably have children. How has it been being a parent during COVID? You have to console them and get them used to this new way of life on top of all the protests and everything that was happening. Tell me how you were able to stay strong and get the book done with all that going on.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm recently divorced. I'm a co-parent now, so she got a lot more time doing in the house. In the house was over to me, but when I get Shelby Supreme, there's 3 hats that I wear. When I pick them up, like on that Friday, the clock kind of like starts, and it's like the first hat is the cool dad, like which I want to go do. We can't go nowhere. Which I want to go buy y'all. Like the fun stuff. Like so, I knock all that out. Shelby's like 11 now, so she likes Zara and stuff like that. So it's like get her out, knock her out some stuff. Clean. I keep him with the fresh Paw Patrol stuff, so that's the one hat, and then the other hat is the educator hat. Just asking Shelby a lot of things about school stuff, making sure she brings some things with her. By me, just picking her brain all the time, especially with the situation that we're in right now with Brianna Taylor things. I asked her about Brianna and George, and I got her, defining what redlining mean, and just all those things. So I got to wear that hat too, and so I only got a little time now, like every weekend or whatever. So I got to wear that hat, and then the third hat is the protector hat. Her mother's a beautiful woman, that beautiful soul with friends and whoever she does, but I still have to ask those kind of personal dad questions, like Shelby, how school with your teachers? She was private school, so it's like any racial slurs towards you. What racial slurs mean? Supreme, anybody push you, or just ask those protective things. So I don't, in other words, I say forget about what I got them, because I'm so busy trying to wear all those hats in that time I have.
That's a lot. Kudos to all the parents in the building. That's a real deal. So, you kind of briefly mentioned, and I'm going to keep this rolling. If y'all have some questions, feel free to interact, because I don't want this to just be like, we're breaking down the fourth wall. Y'all are part of the conversation. But you mentioned divorce, and I don't want to keep highlighting that, but you also talked about just general hardships, losing your mother, things like that. So talk a little bit more about how you were able to overcome those hardships and what led you to be so vulnerable in your book about it.
Well, the hardship, I think that's actually like the best thing that ever happened to me. Because a lot of people, well, I'm speaking on myself, I can't speak for other people, but I know my hardship I've created. You know, a lot of, you know, I can't say a lot of people, but a lot of times in my life, I never wanted to look in the mirror at some of them. Everything that happened to me bad, my ass probably was the root cause of it. So,
those ones come with the biggest lesson.
yes. Yeah.
Can we all agree that we both had to bump our heads or learn a lesson? Also, y'all never had to learn a lesson on your own. Got it, okay.
Yeah, but
I'm teasing.
no, I think the hardship for me was getting over the hardship. I mean, was me just stripping down everything, you know, pointing out all my wrongs, you know, whether it was at that time a bad husband or bad friend, family member, like whatever that situation was, it was, you know, me telling God, all right, man, like, I get it. You took everything. You know, like, you know, when these times, you know, you come to him and you just butt naked now. You know, like, you got nothing, you know, and during that time, I really did go through that. Yeah, it was like, wow, like, okay, I get it. You know, I understood my flaws. I understood that, you know, wearing a mask can only get you so far. You know, like it was like, okay, you know, I don't hurt nobody, it's not, but, you know, some things you do is kind of wrong, my brother, you know, yeah, like, you know, you don't have to kill people to be a sinner, you know, so, me just stripping down and breaking down, of course, having that emotional moment, you know, because when all that happens, you start thinking about all the other stuff, like the parents passing, and this and that, so everything starts coming in, so you just now negative and just going crazy, you know. And I enjoyed that going crazy moment, you know, yelling and punching at the air and this and that, and just sitting there trying to figure out the next move. And because once I came out of that moment, you know, man, I've been finger rolling everything ever since. You know what I'm saying? Like God's been taking care of me, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, just fixing it, manning up to it and fixing it, and sky's the limit.
Yeah. I read this quote, and it's the lady, she's actually a Holocaust survivor. Obviously, you know, this is, you know, a black space, and we don't have any slaves still living, or former slaves still living, so we can't as much tap into those. But what she said was, you can't heal from things until you get angry about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that's real talk. Like, you have to go through that punching of the air and screaming. Because now people might not even be here anymore before you can really accept what happened or what didn't happen. And that's another thing that I heard too, especially when it comes to trauma, especially in our community, because it is passed down a lot of times. Your great grandmother from, you know, if they pass it down because of the things, not only the things that they experienced, but the things that they didn't get because of that experience, the nurturing that they didn't get because of that experience, the relationship. So I think that's really dope that you're able to, you know, tap into that and touch on it.
Yeah, definitely.
And in your book, you also talked about mental health. So tell me, you know, as a black man, how was it, you know, kind of putting it down on paper about your experience with, you know, overcoming, you know, like, you know, challenges with mental health, whether that be depression, anxiety, using other, you know, natural herbs to help you through it, and what can you tell other black men in just our community about, you know, working through that?
I think my biggest challenge, especially putting it in the book, as a black man, but I think not more as a black man, just as an individual that I am with my characteristics. I think me pretty much once again taking that mask off and knowing that you're not alright. No matter what, you know, Instagram likes say or DMs like, Nick, my brother, you're not alright. You know,
the picture is nice.
Yeah, like, you know, so I guess the only advice I give a black male is perfect example. When you were younger, or when I was younger, like my mom and dad, like, yo, we'll go somewhere to clean up your room. I'm like, alright, cool. You go in the room, which y'all do, clean up. What we do, I don't know if y'all was bad like me. What we do? Closet, bed, everything on the bed, right? So, you know, one time mom come in there, turn. She's like, okay, it's clean. But yeah, man, ready, let's ride. She comes sit on the bed. I'm like, man, what, man? She's like, it's clean. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you smell it?
Not just nothing.
Like, what you mean I smell it?
And you know how young boys can be.
Yeah. Not that long, I gotta come back down you. So yeah, it was.
Athletes, yeah.
And I'm like, huh? She's like, you don't. And she'll find 1,000,001 socks and boxes, all of the things, shoes, cleats, everywhere. And I think that's what us as black men, even though they looked clean, the collar was clean, the bed was made.
It was tidy, but it
It
was
was
clean.
tidy.
No, it was tidy and it was stank.
But it was
But it wasn't
so
clean.
when that person comes close to you like she did and sits next to you, the person you let in your life,
It stank.
they're looking at it like, oh, you got it all together. You got it all together.
But it stank.
But when I get a little closer to you, you know, daily, seeing these emotions, oh, he snapped about that. You know, like, you know, or he, you know, or this and that, or he, they can smell it.
Yeah.
You know, so in other words, we can't compress. That's what we do, we try to compress it.
You can. You can.
You know, the black men, especially if you're a husband, you're a father, you know, we try to compress every single thing.
And you're more importantly, you know, that outside of just familiar relationships, you know, like your spouse and your, you know, cousins and them, but your kids.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because you're a superhero, so that you definitely don't want to, you know, yeah, you take all of that anger, man, you think about all of that crap that happened to you, it was your fault, not your fault, and you just put it down here.
In your pocket.
I'm glad you said that, because you think you're putting it like in the ocean, or space.
You carrying it with you.
But you put it in the pocket. And eventually, what happens with anything you put in the pocket? Especially my tight ass, man. We're going
It was like something right there. and then somebody was like, so you know something right there. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's something right there. You need to get that together.
So that's our biggest, as a black man, we try. Yeah, man, to be that superhero that, yeah, that we just try to suppress every bad trauma, every bad feeling.
And that's toxic, y'all.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I think as black men, we really have to internalize everything we feel.
Yeah.
And you have to wear the masculine face. You have to wear that mug. 'Cause
Yeah.
well, that's a protective, and you also feel targeted against everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So we don't look at each other as brothers and sisters.
Yep.
We look at each other as a threat.
Yep. So, you know, and yeah, that's the biggest take on that. It's hey, Brad. She'll probably prove on she'll be late. Yeah, we just gotta. For the last, I guess, year and a half, 2 years, I think I've made more friends, and I use that word very carefully, but just more. I have more fun in environments now. I'm not wearing a damn mask. You know? So now it's like, yeah, you know,
You just be you.
you just be you. Like, so long being somebody else, man. It's nuts.
I can attest to that, not to cut you off, but for me, like, especially, I don't know how many of you are from New Orleans. Can you raise your hands if you're from New Orleans? Okay, so we got some people who aren't from New Orleans. Can you raise your hand if your parents sent you to a white school? Yes. So that's like another thing that people don't talk about is like when you're sent to a white school, I think honestly it's such a blessing when you can go to a predominantly black school. Like Grambling saved my life. Okay? But because miseducation is so real and it will have you, people will have, I don't know, did y'all see Antebellum?
Yeah.
The movie Antebellum? And the man told her, this was the slave master, right? And he told her, oh, I thought you was on our team. You on the wrong team.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm supposed to be on your team while you suppress me and oppress me. But I think the biggest thing is really being able to tap into the issues of our own community because even when it comes to whether it be mental health or working through trauma, there's things that we have to work through just in our lineage in general that they're not going to be able to touch on because they don't have that experience. So I just think that's a big thing. and for our community in general, just being open, like you said, wearing that mask. When you go to PWIs especially, they teach you to be like, hey Bob, hey Jim, like, you know what I mean? You're supposed to go in there and not take your baggage with you. When if you were amongst your friends, like we can talk about like, bruh, my brother just got locked up.
Right.
Jimmy not gonna know about your brother getting locked up. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's so important for us to be able to talk amongst ourselves in the community. Like for me, both of my parents are deceased, right? I talk proper AF. I'm from Missouri, but both of my parents are deceased. My mom was shot 7 times, right? Like in the streets. But for me, going to PWIs, working in news, being a producer and all those things, there's a disconnect, you know?
Why? Yeah, I'm nice with the vision, son.
Huh?
I'm nice with the vision. She just did. That's what this event was about, y'all. It's not about this book, it's not really about me. I wanted everyone to express themselves and what she just did. And I was telling him that. I was like, I ain't fucking, I don't want to do no book. But I wanted to get something deeper. You know, a safe space. A think tank, but not a think tank on getting some money, a think tank on emotions, how to be a better person, how to treat people better, you know? So, I mean, we can, you know, I know we're not, but I can leave right now. Like, that's what I wanted to feel other people's emotions.
I just want to say really quick that when we read your book, for me it was just all about unlearning. Unlearning a lot of the things that we've learned. Even when I read the piece about addiction, and just about the wolf, and the way that you explained it, you said that scenario, we've all learned that, like drinking, no shades,
Definitely.
all of that stuff at school, and we never realized how much like the damage internally did to us. And even when we're talking about mental health or masking, we were taught to put on masks, we were taught to go in spaces and be certain ways, and if you weren't this way, you weren't accepted, whether that was church, whether that was different places or whatever. So I appreciate your book because it was like we could unlearn,
Let it go.
we could like let it go, and we could be okay.
Yeah, those are my 2 favorite quotes. The don't blame the Eskimo, blame the wolf, and let it unlearn. Those are my 2 favorites. Those hit me the hardest. Because like, that's what I'm trying to do, you know, I'm trying to unlearn. I know we talked about the freestyle already, I kind of want to stay with it. But yeah, the unlearning part, I like, and I love using my previous marriage because of this book. So, you know, I had an older, and the land just left me because attest to it. You think you're learning right. So
I'm gonna give you the game.
and he was, and he was I mean, he, you know, built this beautiful house somewhere, like all white glass and everything.
What's going on?
He had like the Range Rover, the Benzes. So this was beautiful wife, like beautiful, like, and he was just ripping and running. And he was my OG, so this is what I'm seeing, you know. I'm in college, this is what I'm seeing and what I think, you know, and I'll never forget he told me, that's why this was like, that's why the book was special, because some things I couldn't get out of my brain. He told us it had to be like 2004, it's like, man, look around, we was at this house one time. It's like she living the dream.
She good.
She good. So now I get married. Create, you see my home, beautiful home, glass in the back, water pine. But I'm not right? And what I say?
She good.
She lives the dream. Until you realize that ain't a dream. You know what I'm saying? Until you're in that bag, like in the book, you're in the bag, black clouds over you, on your pine, nice car in the driveway, and you in the darkest place of your life mentally.
Yes. But thank God for the dark place so you can come back into the light, right?
I agree.
Like it takes a certain level of honesty with yourself. Like people think that honesty is for other people. Like, oh, you're honest with other people. You're honest because you want other people to trust you. You're honest because you want other people to believe you. But if honesty is not about your relationship with other people, it's definitely about what's inside. Lying is a habit. You know.
Definitely.
So if you blind to other people, you're probably lying to yourself. And that's dangerous because what you tell yourself is the most important. Like people always talk about self-care, but they don't talk about honesty with yourself.
That's part of self-care.
Exactly. Like, you know, it's not just like going to get your fingernails painted, your hair done, and looking good. It's about being good to yourself. Being honest to yourself. Because when you're honest to yourself, you can stand your own reality. You can be honest with other people and say, I don't like that. I like that. That's not for me. This is who I am.
That's when boundaries come in.
Right.
And that's where life starts. Like that's where your life officially starts when you learn that part. You know, that's when life really starts.
Yeah. So I want to say, we touched on mental health, but I don't know that you gave, like, in your book you mentioned herbal remedies, right? But how do you feel about, what would you say to men who are considering or not considering going to seek professional help? Do you think, how do you feel about that?
I've definitely seek professional help.
And so I lied. It's important, okay? Like don't sleep on professional help because some things you can't. It's not enough self-help books in the world to take care of some things.
I think that's just the answer. I can't go wrong with that. I think you have to know to seek someone. I think you have, like you said, you just have to know you're doing that stuff at the time, and you need help.
Because that denial is real.
It's all about the denial. You know, and I think you have to search for that root cause on why you're so mad. I think like in the book, I found out, when I talk about the backyard being dark and this and that and all that. I really found out, like I said in the book, when my mother passed, when my father passed, it was like, I was a junior high school. I was at eating stuff, so it was like, funeral, okay, now A, travel, boom, boom, boom. My mother passed. My sophomore year in college, until, I got an internship in LA.
Out.
No grieving moments.
Ooh, yes, I can.
No grieving, so that was in 09. No, 07, I'm sorry. All the way up to 2018, that stuff finally comes out. But when it finally comes out, you start retracting, you start looking at the receipts of that 12 to 13 year window, how you just a bad person because of that. You know, like a lot of things you've done was because you had all that in you, you didn't even know it. Or you know it, once again, we're going back to the suppressed thing.
Depending on what age you were at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes you experience trauma and don't even realize it.
Yeah, right, too, yeah. Until you have those moments.
Until it flashes back.
Yeah, so I might be able to tell anybody, like, find out the root cause, like, why the hell are you so mad? Why the hell are you so sad? Nothing's wrong with being mad or sad. Because something might really happen. But you gotta find out what it is. I think that's it on that.
Yeah. So to keep it moving, do you plan to author another book? What's in the future? I mean, because it sounds like the ladies like it, the gentlemen like it. So what's next?
All depends on show they get these records, you know. Show they chemical. Now, we're gonna get to that too. Yeah, we are. I think right now just another. I went into it like it was music, like it was an album. You know, that's why I put volume 1. So we just do volume 2 and like music. Right? But I think that got to sit a minute. You know, how long you that album did. You know, I think you got to sit. You know, because I don't want to become a capitalist for a book. You know, I'm not really trying to sell books like that. I wanted to, you know, it feels good when somebody texts me a quote and then give me something behind it. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know, that beats $15 any day. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna definitely let that sit. I think I'm gonna do it.
But capitalism is okay, though.
Oh, no, we don't get into all that too. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
We need more capitalism in our community.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But in 2021, we are gonna do an audio book, like in January.
All right, and I'm gonna keep it rolling because I don't want y'all to get restless. I know we got some people standing, some people want more wine and things like that. But okay, so how was it releasing during COVID? We talked about writing during COVID, but I mean, you managed to still do a book release and have friends out. So how has that been?
I definitely want to do something big, you know, because everybody know me, I like, you know, the events and stuff like that. I want to do something like super fly, like, well, it's just a book release, you know, but, you know, God said it's done for a reason, so it was, I just have to figure out the next play. If I do one more Zoom meeting, I'm gonna die. But it's like, you know, it sit me down, got us here, because I probably wouldn't have done this without. I probably would have done a Barnes and Noble down the line, you know, try to write, take a picture, but you had to be creative with COVID, and you know, and I knew, yeah, I knew everybody already had the book, so trying to get them to come back in with the book, that's why I kind of even just wanted to be a cliche book thing. So I think COVID got us here. We need to sit down and think about how can I get other people to relate to the book. Like I said, the book is really just about I want to know how many people go when you meet that spot.
Yeah.
Like now I understand when the preacher be like, I know somebody in me right there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, give me an amen. Like that was like, I just want an amen. Like someone like, so I can know I ain't crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like,
real out here.
Yeah.
Other people feeling it.
And we were setting up yesterday, and one of my guys, Hendrix, his friend, I know him but really don't know him. We was doing things here. We had like a video shoot, something going on. But I need to go to Home Depot, and I really don't know this guy, but you know, but I know him, but don't know him. Like I don't know his story or whatever. And we were just running it. And I told him about the book, this and that. And I brought up, I forgot what topic I brought up, and he just started running it about his personal. You know, he just opened up, and I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? And when I started talking, I was like telling him about things. I don't look like him. He looked like it. Looked like him. That's why I'm and that's what I want the book to be. Just always, vulnerability brings people together if they're willing to talk. You know, you never know what the next person is going through.
Yeah, that's real life. So what's the biggest takeaway? I mean, you talked about, you kind of just touched on it on that, but what's that one message that you want everybody to kind of get from your book?
Well, you gotta stop wearing these masks, man. And I talk about
Not just COVID masks.
It's transparency is so important. You know,
So what do you,
I mean
not
that
to cut
towards-
you off, but because you said take off the mask, right? So for people who have yet to take off the mask, what do you think needs to happen, or what do they need to do to be able to feel strong enough to do that?
That's only, I mean, I say God, some people say Allah, some people say universe.
Was it for you? I mean,
for me, it was this time. It was the like I said, man. People know me, or I got this little cliche to be this dude, but fly this and that. Man, 2 years ago after that divorce, like, and it was, she didn't do it. I gave her everything, this and that. Man, I was borderline pretty much homeless. We have a family home. I mean, but it ain't my thing. I pretty much was homeless. Nobody, of course, would have knew that or saw that or seen that, but it was like, I didn't have shit, and I mean, I did it, she, that's a good woman. She did, like, I gave her everything, like, if she didn't want all this stuff, I gave her, so I'm not gonna just leave and take everything, so I took the house, the cars, whatever. I took my clothes and my music class. That was it. And that was when I came to my, that's when I knew it was time.
right,
So now, and look, I'm not gonna say the quick, but like, I'm back okay now.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna do it right this time. First time shame on, well, me second shoot, you say
First time
shame on you, second time on me. So yeah, I'm good now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So where can they find the book? What outlets do you have it online, here, etc.?
It's on Amazon. It's on our new baby, which is Vintage Coffee, vintagecoffee37.com. And Vintage Coffee is a website that's actually, we're gonna launch it. We kind of soft launched it, but we got merch and other items. It's pretty much a healing site. I can't say the word about next teeth, but like those things behind her. You go. This team ain't gonna let me say nothing like that right now. Candles, merchandise. We got like palm rings. Then we're gonna showcase a voice on there that the world needs to hear, and which is also my editor, which I can get to everybody that participated in the book. Make sure they chemical behind us. Any Mario fans, any just soulful listeners with a good spirit that like music.
Yeah.
She's the one, y'all, and Yeah, British coffee, you can get it there. And I mean, I'm still black and old school. You can be in my brother. You can pull up on me. Yeah. And okay, that's a great summary for this too. Miss Tiana.
Yes.
Yeah, I get Miss Tiana down here. Miss Tiana.
There she is.
She got like a little old school. She got like a little old school sweat, yo. So she, come here, man. No, come here. Come here. Oh, okay.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Wait, T, let me get an introduction first. This is the venue that y'all in right now. Next month's not even gonna look like this. This is on St. Charles Street, First Black Business Workspace. That's why I'm gonna go to the business owners. That's why I try my best to invite like a lot of creators and business owners. Because this is going to be workspaces for your office. Anybody know about Propel and that? Mm-hmm. This is pretty much that, but with us and with a lot more backing. And this is support. You take it from there and contact it and you run it. But this is the woman that's created all this and my boss now.
Again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate everybody wearing their masks and being, probably trying to do the right thing. So the space is exactly just what I envisioned. Just beautiful people like you guys, bring creativity and professionalism and just all the energy that you're bringing. It is going to be a co-working space, so next month it will look a bit different. I'll have some private offices. You can rent out the space for different events, small, intimate type things like this. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not the camera person, I'm not the mic person. So I really just, want to thank you guys for coming. Make sure that you follow it at the space_NOLA. I've been told I need to tell social media stuff. So, it's really good. So thank y'all. The energy is really great in here. And thank you, Mo, for allowing the space to host you as you cross the different milestones in your career and author the book. So thank y'all, and hopefully you can bring your businesses and everything in here, be team members and all that kind of great stuff. So thank y'all very much.
You're not kicking us out. You're not kicking us out. We still talking.
We good? Yeah, so we're going to turn the mic on you, the metaphorical mic. So I just want some people to volunteer. Tell Mook, tell us what was your favorite quote from the book or what was your favorite chapter? Don't y'all all speak at once. We got to hear you.
Some of y'all ain't even text me y'all stuff, so y'all better, some of y'all text me y'all stuff. Yeah.
Look, y'all got to crack it open like
okay, we got some one right here. We're going to go like that. What you got?
Mine was, once the shit gets bigger than the pack must go.
All right, now. You want me to say your name by that? Then give it. It's hard. Like, I'm like, my homeboy just left. Oh, what you got? This is my cousin too, y'all. Shout out everybody.
But I'm gonna read when I get home. When he talked about the passing of his mother, and I was there with him through a lot of things. I was there when she passed. I was there when she was grieving and dying. I was there when his dad passed and everything. And I saw about his struggle. And back then, I didn't know what the mental health thing was, and I'm also a licensed social worker, so I understand now what he was dealing with from a different perspective. But from a family perspective, I feel the struggle, and he shut down a lot. And I was so happy to see him come back and emerge and become the person that he is, and I understood. Then I didn't understand, but I understand now. I'm so proud of him, and I love him, and I gotta go.
Got you. Go back to your so how you
The
do?
shit in the stand.
Yeah.
What do you want me to read?
No, why did you so hard?
Just because you kind of like be so caught up in the thing, like in whatever it is, and you're not really paying attention to everything that it's doing to you, or it's just like, oh, it's stressful, but it's happy here, but it's stressful, but it's happy here, but it's stressful.
So that sounds like work.
Yeah, so exactly. So when the shit get bigger than the pack, because we all got a pack, like, all of that, all that's cute, but you
You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when they get to be too much of a mess, you gotta go.
Yeah,
You just
definitely.
gotta go.
Yeah, my homeboy, he had to go and get up for work early. He had got the book yesterday, he read the whole thing, whatever. It's like this is show The Godfather. It was like 4 because I ain't gonna pick the book music. But he like punched me. It's like, now why you talking about my homeboy like that? Because I had a close friend where sometimes friendships do have expiration dates. You know, and if you read, and when you read that chapter, like you said, it wasn't no different. Like I said, it was nobody's fault. It just, you know, and you know, if you gotta like go, so you got the car to go meet one of your people, you know what I'm saying? Or go out when you walk in the house with your boyfriend or girlfriend, then that, you know, that shit is not worth it.
You enjoy the pet when you enjoy the pet.
Exactly.
When it gets tough, it's just like, okay, I don't have time for this.
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
Yeah.
The part that really struck a chord with me is Quincy Jones made Thriller at 50.
Okay.
You know, we think like, damn, I'm 25 now, this is never gonna happen. I'm 30,
Yes.
like I'm 37 now.
Yes.
My husband is 50, and we just feel like, ooh, we about to get, you know,
Right.
you know, we 10 toes down running, like, now is like our time. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't feel like there's a
Yeah.
time limit on like our creativity, you know, like anything that we have, you know, so that really was like,
Definitely,
It's not an
definitely.
expiration date on greatness.
Yes. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I really love.
Sade.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
No, she
Yeah.
she was saying something too.
so I really love the chapter about words are seeds and we should plant them.
Yes.
I think that resonates so much with not only just me, myself, when I'm reading that, but just with the world.
Yes.
You know, when we throw out words of hate, when we throw out words of negativity, we give off vibrations of hate.
Definitely.
And, you know, we see it all in the media today. It's like we all have a duty to be more positive. We all have a duty to, you know, talk to somebody in the street. Maybe you might do that normally, but like, you never know that can make somebody's day. And so, not only that, but manifesting things, you know, manifesting not only for yourself, but for the world, to give, you know, for peace, for love, for healing, for everybody. Because we all need that. So that really like hit me to my soul.
Yeah. And I hope tonight is one of those nights, you know, that somebody says something that someone will leave with. You know, like someone takes some of these seeds and plant it, and, you know, especially Quincy Jones. And yeah, like, you know, I'm 37, and yeah, I got, man, like I got so many other more plans. Like, you know,
It's on the
like,
beginning.
like he was a legend before he did Thriller. You know, he made Thriller at 50. And he was already on Mount Rushmore, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, don't get yourself an expiration date on being great. You gotta
I want you not to limit yourself, because when you say volume one of the biggest points that I kind of grasped to was your pain and depth, trials and tribulations. And reaching for volume two, I want you to focus on this process. So a lot of the points you brought up, I empathize with, and being younger, I still connect with a lot of these knuckleheads in the streets, so you gotta calm them down. And trying to calm them down, we need stuff like that. The manuscripts.
Great Subway, a lot, I think like 2 of my guys know. Yeah, starting November 1st will be the first outreach. I started a nonprofit called Soul to Soul Foundation. And it's gonna be, I think November 1st, we're gonna be right, because I live on St. Charles, so we're gonna be right here serving food for the homeless. Once the school started, letting everybody back in, we're gonna go in, we're gonna show their chemicals, you know, we're gonna go in with artists and let them perform, but also, she's an educator. And I'm about to forget everything I just said, this is actually the editor, everyone, of the book. This is the editor, you know, so yeah, that's what Soul to Soul Foundation gonna be, just to get in those juvenile spots and just kind of, you know, do our part.
That's great, because the last part is, I know a lot of people brought up in the church, so in being indoctrinated and learning, we're learning a lot spiritually as well.
Right.
You know how people came and come.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite quotes that I say is, "There's no church in the box."
Yeah.
So you have all these people who have the order. So trying to instill the order, I want you to continue reaching.
Oh, that's
I
what
want
I'm
you to
saying.
cap yourself off and limit yourself.
Nah, definitely. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's I appreciate that. Anyone else? I mean, go pop.
I just
pop bottles in their face. That's when all the universe come around. That's what I'm talking about.
This is beautiful. All these black people in here sharing, giving light,
Yeah, that was the
giving
goal.
love.
That was
Like
the goal.
this year,
That was the goal.
I met Sydney.
Real talk.
Like I met her. And
Yeah.
I saw her.
Yeah.
And I get to be here
Yeah.
and I get this confirmation
Yeah.
and I see so much stuff that I suppressed
Yeah.
but then destroyed.
Definitely.
You know, like this has been great for me. So thank you so
Oh,
much.
that means a lot. That means a lot. Everybody want some more balls, man. Right? It's great. Yeah, man.
Great job.
I appreciate you, brother.
All jokes aside, I know we were going.
Yeah,
That's all to you.
I'm really much out for you. Come on.
I like it, but-
What we got?
I think the biggest thing overall, that I kind of gathered as the overall theme of the book, and something that I think all of us have been kind of getting as a result of quarantine, which has actually been a blessing, is the unlearning. Because all of us have been indoctrinated, all of us have been conditioned, and I know personally myself, 2019 was a very interesting year, but 2020 really drove it home, like hardcore home. Lessons that were learned that were the worst lessons, ones I didn't like, those that didn't feel good, those that exposed things and put a mirror in front of my face that I did not want to see. And even with the complete breakdown of what those lessons brought, I really wouldn't have it any other way, because coming out on the other side is always like the biggest and the greatest lesson. It's really unlearning, like unlearning yourself, like the things that we think that we believe, the things that we think that are our standards or our morals or our belief systems or how we want to move and operate in the world. And you creating a book expressing and showing and exposing how much you really do have to unlearn, you really get to look in that mirror and see how every relationship that you have is a reflection of you and who you are, and looking at it and saying, what is this trying to teach me? Not what is happening to me, what is it trying to
Take ownership.
You know, to take ownership of that. Even when it's like the hardest thing for you to do, you know what I mean, or the most painful thing for you
That's
to
the
do,
one.
or the thing that you don't want to do or you don't want to see, you know, and finding those ways to not only unlearn but detach yourself from everything that's been put on us. You know, epigenetics is real. Everything, like you said about our grandparents and great-grandparents, we didn't experience it, but we still live it. We still have it in our bones, so we still carry it with us. So I think for me, the unlearning part is one of the major things that we can take from major loss, because that's going to unlock everything else. Really see, like Sydney said, she met Sydney this year. You know what I mean? In 2020, I knew Tiffany, I knew a lot about me, but I learned some things that I thought I believed that I really don't.
Same here.
I thought I believed that because you grew up saying this is what it is, but I really don't feel like that. You know what I mean? So just really being grateful for you, you know, when you go way back.
Yeah, right.
Cadillac and all folk flat.
Yeah, right.
You know, but just really putting yourself out there and putting yourself out there in a space and a time where a lot of people shut down. Like a COVID really took a lot of people out, and I don't mean just physically taking them off this plane, but I mean mentally. COVID really took a lot of people out, and everybody has their own way of dealing with change. So some of us were very creative, like you. Some of us really kind of like tucked down and didn't know what was going to happen with our lives, and some of us didn't wake up until today and realize, oh shit, it's a pandemic. You know what I mean? So, but really exposing yourself like that and giving that open, and I know you, so I'm like, oh shit, like book really put it in this book. Like, okay, we all talk about this in front of real people. All right, you know, so doing that, I'm very proud of you. Of course, you already know that, commend you for it, but the unlearning piece is major. And I think once us as a people, we really tap into that and really are open to relearning who we really are and who we really feel and being honest with ourselves, that's when we're really going to take over.
So, I'm gonna go. We got a couple questions, but we're not gonna go too long. I just want to ask real quick. I'm gonna put these two questions together. What does faith mean to you? What does happiness mean to you? And what does it look like? So if you can answer that all in one quote from yourself, one mantra, how you believe it. Feel free to kind of enlighten us on your view.
And that's not a book question. That's just a
That's just a
what does
question.
faith to you What does it look like? How?
Faith for me is foundation, and a stable foundation that's not constantly shifting and constantly moving. And I don't think that faith equates to happiness. I don't think that it does, but it's simply stability. And I think that happiness is liberation and the ability to move throughout the world with that authenticity and that honesty that someone was talking about, being honest with yourself. That's simple, straightforward for me.
I think you touched on a great point too, because I don't want to confuse it. Like you said, faith does not equal happiness. Because a lot of times our faith is tested when we're going through a storm, okay? When we're going through the trials and tribulations. But I think on the other side of it, once we do get through that and our faith carries us through, that happiness, that joy, that's when joy comes in. It's so much sweeter. But how do y'all feel about it?
I have something to say.
Yes.
I'd say that for me anyway, faith is when I find myself in void. Like I'm talking about complete darkness. And I'm able to believe in somewhere in myself that God is placing me. Or that I'm going to see light at the end of time. Because my story on faith is just recognizing that God always has me in a dark place. And interestingly enough, trauma for me has been a lot of being in the dark physically. When I was young, I used to hallucinate. I used to see things falling on the wall. When I was in the church, growing up in the church, the church would say that it's demonic and that all these things that I hear and see is of the devil. But then what happens when you come out of the Christian faith and you are moving towards a different spirituality? Well, that crutch that you had is no longer there. So there's nothing to name what you feel. And so I constantly find myself in just like utter darkness and just trying to remember that faith for me is knowing that there's something inside of me that's resilient. And that I'm going to survive. Like I'm going to live.
I think another way to put that also is to also be able to deal with yourself.
Yes.
Like at your ugliest, at your like, I'm fucking up right now, but I still need to love me and I still need to figure out how I'm gonna work through this. Because it's easy not only to abandon relationships with other people, but you'll abandon yourself if you're not careful. Yeah, so I think that's really good.
I don't believe in relationships like restoration dating. I think that they often transition. You know, because like that relation, that connection is still there. The memories, you know. But as far as like throwing someone away.
No. I think my as far as with writing it, I meant far as in two people can grow apart mentally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
The memories are there, but you still
like sometimes all we have is time.
Right.
Like we don't really like the same. You're doing things that I'm not really, and that can become toxic. You know, I'm talking simple things. I'm talking grounding. I'm talking. You can be watching the Saints game and you hate Michael Thomas. He like Michael Thomas, but y'all got so much composed in y'all already that ain't coming out. But now y'all down there fighting because y'all need to be in that room together anyway.
Right, but it's the value for that person change. That's what I mean by transitioning, because like even though like we're on two separate paths at this point, my value for you that I had doesn't actually change.
Oh no.
I still value you in this way, but the relationship has transitioned to something totally different. So it's like we don't have that those experiences anymore, but we're not.
Exactly. And to meet you with that, to let you know that I agree. I said like when I was like said my homeboy kind of question, why you talking about? Because that's still my brother.
Right.
That's still my kid's godfather. Like he called me tomorrow, your book, I'm not gonna get me or I need a pair. It's still there, but yet we don't gotta ride shotgun together no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what it means.
You still value him as a human being in the world.
Yeah, like I just don't believe in throwing people away. Like
never.
Like I have people that like we were best friends at one point and we talked tough every day, ride or die. And now we're not that anymore. But
that's all, man.
For you,
Definitely.
for those experiences,
Totally.
my value for you being in my life at that point doesn't change.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
my relationship with you has transitioned, but I don't think that it's expired because if But as far as the everyday, the ride or die thing, that's transitioning to something totally different. We're in two different.
Nah, I totally agree.
Like,
Real, we gonna go and you gonna
Yeah,
go.
I'll just focus on learning and unlearn piece of it. Like, we have so ingrained in us, Mom that said about the happiness thing, that happiness is this punch you hit, and then you never have no trials and tribulations afterwards. So if you're going through this revolving circle, a negative circle in life where you get a point and you think you're there, and you have trials and tribulations, and you fight yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think happiness is in the moments. I think the other thing what she was saying about the relationship piece, that's another thing we have to learn, that it's okay to still be cool with people, but y'all don't really fuck with each other like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not about being ugly, it's just a part of life. Because people are constantly changing. Everybody having their own experiences. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
I saw a quote where it was like, normalize if you got a friend and you reaching out to them and let's say 1 week, a couple of days, they don't hit you up. It might not be about you. They might have something.
Yeah. I actually went through that, with an artist the other day. It was like, I didn't get a text back, kind of like, you can't really, don't go crazy because you don't know what happened. Now I have to wait till we talk and then now I can act like an asshole. But right now, don't send that text. Yeah, like don't send that, because, you don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? So